Hey everyone, Leo with Dreaming Tree, and welcome to the assembly video for our pumpkin farm paper sculpture. Now this one is a little bit involved, but again, I almost equate this with painting, I guess you could say. So in some ways, we're kind of channeling the one and only Bob Ross here with this one, because there's going to be a lot of details. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to start off by actually building our truck. Okay, and we're just going to kind of piece everything together and then put the sculpture together. Okay, we're going to start off with just this black layer here. It's going to be your backmost layer. Okay, and then next we're going to find this layer here. Okay, and you can see how it's going to go right on top of the black. Now let me scoot over a little bit. I'm a little off center here. Okay, and these pieces here, I didn't actually do any inking to this one. I'll kind of, as we go, mention any of the sections that I inked, and I'll try to, well, I'm not going to give you the exact color, because it's really going to depend on, well, it's going to depend on the papers that you picked. So giving you the color isn't really always going to help unless you literally make the project piece by piece identical with mine. Okay, so this is going to go right on top there. You want to match that up. I'm looking at the holes for the windows here as my primary kind of focal point. I'm going to press that down. Okay. And next we can take and put this piece down. Okay, and you can see that I did take this piece and I just inked around this part here because we've got a little fender that's going to go over part of it. So you don't need to waste time inking parts that are going to be covered up, obviously. Okay, so just match that up like so. And you can see how the inking sort of helps separate the two sections here. Okay. Then next, we've got this little piece. It's going to go right there. And I definitely would recommend taking your time and inking this project because it's going to make it look fantastic when it's all said and done. I think it'll still look great without the ink, but fall has kind of a rustic vibe to it. And I want to try to maintain that. I got a little wispy here that just didn't cut right. I'm gonna clean that up. Okay, so next, I'm gonna move right along here, and we can kind of put together the little wheels. Okay, and we're gonna start off. Actually, let me just do this real quick here. These are all the little pieces for the wheels here, and then we also have these. Those are for the lights in the front. Those are for the lights in the front as well. Okay, and I feel like there it is. Okay, so there's that one. We've got it's kind of a silver foil, and that's going to go on top of that, and then we're going to do one more layer right there, like so. So let's go ahead and take this pattern color. It's like a gray, almost looks like the moon a little bit. This would be a great paper to use to kind of mimic the moon, I think. Okay, so that's going to go on like that. And then we have this darker layer that's going to go right on top of that. And that's going to get glued right onto the back wheel. Now be careful if you are also using foil. Sometimes paper has a tendency to sort of slide around on that foil if it's not completely dry. So be aware of that. Okay, and then this guy's going to go right back here. Try to just get that mostly centered. And you can tell it's kind of at a little bit of an angle, so follow the shape of the wheel. Okay, we'll do the same thing here. We'll grab this pattern paper, apply that to our silver foil, like that, and then we'll take our darker color and pop that right on there. Now it's not perfectly circular. You kind of want the taller side up and down, the skinnier side left and right. I think that looks good. Just throw a little bit of glue on that, and this can go down now. It's not a big deal. It's not going to interfere with anything else. So that's totally fine. Okay, there we go. All right, next, let's take a look here. We've got some pieces here. Okay, so you can see this is what our door is made from. And we actually put it on a little hinge so we can open it up a little bit. So it kind of looks like there's some action happening in our scene. Okay, so go easy on the glue here. There's some little tight little spots throughout our little door. You can see where the handle is going to go and where the hinge is, where the hinges are, I should say. Okay, I'm going to bring that over as far as we can go to the right. We'll press that down. And then we have this little guy. It's going to go right there. It's like a little trim around the window. Pretty small little piece, very delicate. So go easy with the glue here as well. And I would highly suggest kind of hitting that with your finger to thin that glue out so it doesn't go squirting all over the place as we place it down. Now we did cut some, I think we actually used Mylar instead of acetate to sort of mimic the look of glass. And we can just put that on the back. I'm just going to put that on the back of the door. Okay, so there's that. And we have a little black piece for the mirror. Okay, tiny little guy. So again, this is very detailed, a very detailed project. We've had a lot of people say, and again, this is I'm trying to maintain a good balance here between projects that go together quickly, and then there's projects that are very detailed. And we like to provide a little bit of both just to kind of maintain that balance. Okay, so there's our door. And next, I'm going to take and apply this piece. Okay, this is going to go just like this. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our glue on this guy. Similar to the little bicycle paper sculpture that we did, the background of this scene has a number of sunflowers, and that's going to be a little bit of work getting those all in place, but that's really how, well, I mean, we need the detail. I want this to look very impressive, and once we're done, it will, I guarantee that. Okay, next we can take this piece and glue this piece down, like so. So we get kind of a two-toned effect going, because ultimately we're going to have this piece go on last, like this, and that's going to go right here, like so. Okay, so let's go ahead and flip this one over, and you can see in the back of this, it actually looks like we're using some Christmas papers here. Some beautiful reds on the other side. Perfect for this truck. Okay, and here you just want to match up. You can see how there's that little nub there for the fender, or the bumper, I should say. I'm going to match that up, and then of course up here, you want that to line up nicely. Got a little bit of glue shoot out there. That's okay. Just dab it with your finger, get it out of there. All right. Now we're going to take and assemble these three layers like this. This solid layer first, then this, excuse me, this part here. And I just opened up a brand new bottle of glue here, so it's really moving and grooving. Okay. So yeah, we just had probably the hottest day of the year last year. It was brutal. I went to meet Diana to discuss the bundle, go over things with her, and boy, it was just brutal just to even walk outside for 5 minutes. I think my phone or my watch actually counted active steps or active minutes because it was your body's just like, what is going on here? But today's a lot nicer. I think we still have a little bit of a stretch of hot weather coming our way, but I think it'll be fall before you know it. And I love the fact that we always kind of craft things a few weeks ahead of time when it comes to these projects. Okay, so now I've got some silver foil here for the bumper, the front bumper. Okay, and that's going to go right here. You can see where that fits perfectly right there. Make sure you get that nice and aligned. There we go. And I guess while we have this thing off, I'm going to take this little silver piece, and it's for this little light. It should fit in there like a little puzzle, and it does. And then we'll grab the larger white circle, and that's going to go right in the center of this guy, like so. Okay, so that's it for this piece. We can go ahead and take and glue this down now. So yeah, this is all mostly just paper piecing, obviously. I'm not really building anything technically three-dimensional, but ultimately when we get this all assembled, it will look super cool in 3D. Okay, we have another light there, obviously. I'm going to take and put my silver foil piece in first, and then take our little white piece and throw that in. Okay. And there we go. Okay, so that's looking really sharp so far. We have a couple more little pieces here. We've got this little trim piece for the front windshield. And again, very thin, so apply your glue, but then hit that with your finger just to thin it out so it doesn't go squirting all over your beautiful red pattern paper there. And just match that up as accurately as you can. You kind of scooch it up a little bit. Now with thin pieces like this, they tend to kind of have a mind of their own. Okay, that looks good. I'll take it. Okay, and we have two tiny little pieces here. They're going to go in right here, and you know what? I'm not really a car guy. I have no idea what that is. I'm going to say that's maybe an area where there's some exhaust or an air intake, or I don't know what it is. Maybe you guys can tell me what that is. That's going to go right in there, and then there's like a little tiny little tic-tac sort of shaped rectangle that goes right below that. Just a tiny dot of glue on that. Pop that right in there like a little puzzle. Press that in, and there we go. Okay, now we can flip this around, and you can see here we have this piece of acetate that's going to go right over the windows. And let's just throw little dots of glue on there. Don't go overboard here. Okay, I think that's fine. I'm not going to worry about putting it on the steering wheel because I'm afraid it's going to go leaking all over the place. Okay, just drop that in nice and easy. Press that down, and we'll flip that over, let it rest. And then we have one more little one here for this window. We'll do the same thing, and I'm going to let this mylar dry. You could be using acetate, that's fine. I'll let that dry before I go moving anything else around here. Just drop that in place, let that set, and it gives the appearance of a window. It's pretty cool. Okay, now we do have this little pumpkin. Now, when you get all the pieces cut out for this project, you're gonna have a lot of these various colors, okay? I'm not really sure how to go about telling you how to find all this stuff without making it even more confusing. So I think what I'm gonna do is just kind of go piece by piece, excuse me. So obviously you can tell that this guy is going to go right here. It's the only one that basically fits right there, okay? So that's pretty self-explanatory. We're going to put this orange layer down first, because there is a green layer for the stems, but that's going to go on second because a little bit of that actually shows through from behind. So again, this should fit nicely like a little puzzle, and it does. Next, we'll grab the green section. Okay, and you'll see what I mean here. There's a method to the madness. Now, just match up the stems because there's going to be a little bit of that orange still sticking out from behind. Okay, there we go. Make sure that's nice and flush on the bottom. Beautiful. Next, we're going to grab this piece. Okay, looks like that. You can see it's flat here and flat here. And I also inked this as well. And we're just going to match that up right on top of that green layer. So make sure that green is all hidden except for the stems. Okay, and then there's two little pieces that look like little orange or yellow tombstones. The taller one is going to go on the right-hand side, and you're just going to get that centered on that pumpkin. And we're basically just creating the ribs of a pumpkin. Okay, make sure that's nice and flush there with the rest of the pumpkin. And let's get this last one in place. And that's going to go right there. Awesome. Okay, so there is our little truck. And we've got that filled. And then, of course, our door, all we're going to do is put glue. And actually, I'm going to flatten this out a little bit more, just so it's easier to glue. Okay, we're going to apply glue to this side of our foil, and I'm going to thin that out, make it nice and tacky, like so, and then just make sure it's folded over, and all you're going to do is just line this up with the existing window, and then press that into place and hold. Okay, and then ultimately, when it's all nice and set, you can take and open the door a little bit to give that a bit of a dimensional look, okay? So our truck is pretty much done. Yeah, it is done. I'm gonna go ahead and put that off to the side. Look how cool that looks. All right, so that's that. Now, we have a little pumpkin cart that we're going to assemble, okay? And we're gonna grab this piece here, and we're gonna flip that over, apply our glue, and we'll get that in place. First, maybe throw a little bit of glue on that wheel. Just nice and easy. Okay, and obviously you can just match that up with the existing pumpkins and the existing wheel there. It's just kind of creating a two-tone look for this piece. And actually, I inked this and I also ran it through an embossing folder that has like a very subtle wood grain on it, just to give it a little bit of life. Okay, and then we have a wheel that's going to go up in front. Go ahead and just get your glue on that, nice and easy. And just match that up, like so. There we go. It's a tiny bit off. That's okay. There we go. Okay. And then we're going to layer this little pumpkin here, and I will show you the order in which we need to do it. Okay, so you can see here, that's the bottom, next layer, so on and so forth. We just kind of put it all in one strip just to make it easier on you. Okay, so we have our backmost layer, which is the darker orange, and we're going to take and apply some glue to the green layer, and these are mostly just for the stems. Instead of trying to get you to glue 3 tiny little stems like that, I just figured this would be a lot easier. So just match up that little strip at the bottom, and the rest of it will just magically fall into place. Just like that. And of course you see there, have a little bit of that dark orange showing through, and we'll just repeat the process with the next little strip. Go easy on the glue here. Going to be performing a lot of surgery, so to speak, today with some of these small pieces. Okay, now this is going to cover the green completely, or at least it should. So make sure you give it a nudge in whatever direction it needs to go to accomplish that. There we go. You can see our little pumpkins forming. Next, we got these little, again, these kind of look like, to me, they look like little tombstones. But I guess I'm kind of in the Halloween mode right now, so I'm seeing that stuff everywhere. Okay, again, just match up the strip, and the pumpkins will magically come together. There we go. And press that down, and then we have a little accent piece in this red. That's going to go right on the bottom of that strip. Nice and thin. And just match that up, line it up. There we go. Cool. Press that down. Okay, and that, again, we're creating a lot of dimension here with just very few little pieces. And you can see how cool that looks. Looks so real. All right, let's throw a little bit of glue on the back of this, and now we're gonna get this onto our little pumpkin wagon. Just match up the stems. I'm kind of just looking at the stems just to make sure that those are lined up correctly, and then the rest of it will just fall into place like so. There we go. Okay, and we do have a little sign that says open. This is our back layer. We're going to glue down the white layer on top of that back layer. Nice and easy. Don't overdo it. Looking forward to bringing Peyton to his first little pumpkin patch today. I actually already got him his Halloween costume this year. He's gonna be Charlie Brown, of course. Makes sense. Someone called him, and I don't even know if this is, I hope I'm not offending anybody by saying this. I probably should have looked it up, but someone called him a towhead because he's blonde, and I don't think Charlie Brown's blonde actually, but whatever, it works. He's cute. Okay, so we've got our little open sign all done here. Now we can just take and apply some glue to the back and pop that right into place right here. Another little dimensional piece. There we go. Okay, so that's ready to go along with the truck. And now we have a little barn that we're going to put together here. And again, this may be a good time to grab the old pick-me-up tool. I think we may need it. And I'm going to grab my little X-Acto. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to start off with this layer here. Okay, and this black layer is going to go flush with the bottom and flush with the two sides so that we just have a little bit of that trim showing along the top. Nice and easy with the glue. Okay. There we go. Okay, that looks great. And now I've got the red part of the barn here. I'm going to just line that up like so. Just match it up with the bottom and left side of the black piece. I did ink that, and maybe, you know what? Maybe I should hit that with a little bit of purple because it's really not. I tried a red and it didn't pan out. Didn't really show up. So sometimes if you use a dark red on red cardstock and it doesn't show up, try a little bit of purple, because purple is, it's kind of like the next variation of red. It's just a red with, well, I think there's other colors in it, but there's definitely some black in the red that makes it darker. And there's probably a little bit of blue in there. That's okay. There we go. Now that's really sticking out a lot more now. I think that's what I was going for. Sometimes you just got to make last-minute decisions so that the project turns out the way you kind of envisioned it. And yeah, you guys wanted another paper sculpture for fall, and I really love this one. We have some really cool ones in the past, but I'm pretty sure this one's going to be one of my favorites. Okay, all right, so let's flip this over. Let's apply our glue. And get that glued into place. And then the rest of this is going to be kind of like a little puzzle as well. All right, so don't forget make sure that's flush with the bottom, flush with the left, and it will naturally just kind of fall into place. Okay, there we go. And then we have this little piece here, and that's you're gonna bump that up against the side of the red here, and it's gonna terminate right there, like that. Kind of a straight line there for the trim, and that's just gonna create the illusion of the roof. So nice and easy, nice and thin on the glue. Again, try to maintain that little bit of trim at the top, just like that. There we go. All right, now, excuse me, I've got these little pieces here, and this one here is going to go right at the top of the window, and you've got these thin little areas here. You just want to do a little dot of glue on those, very tiny. And I would start on the thicker side, get that in place, and then just kind of nudge that thin little area into place, like so. That looks awesome. Okay, then we have this guy here. He's gonna go right there. So same thing applies. Start by kind of pushing it in. I'm afraid to get too much glue on this. There we go. Just try not to make a mess here. Pop that right in on the right-hand side, and then push the rest of it in, like so. Just like that. Okay, I've got a few more pieces here. Okay. Same thing, and it might help to just kind of get a little bit of glue poking out of there instead of trying to squeeze it all on there, and then just take and hit that with your finger, thin that out. Okay, and that one's going to go right in here, like so. There we go. And then we've got the big barn door in the front. Whoops. Might just be easier to hold this one. There we go. Perfect. And just pop that right into place. There we go. Okay, and then we have these little overlays here, and you can we'll figure out where they go based on the shapes. Okay, obviously this really tall and skinny one's gonna go here, and then we have this one. These two are basically the same size. Those are gonna go in the centers, and then this one's gonna go right here. Okay, so we'll just flip that over, and again, very little delicate piece. So just small little dots of glue, as small as you can get them. And if they're too big, just use your finger, thin it out, and that's all you really need. Okay, and that's gonna go right there. Try to maintain a little bit of a border all the way around. We got a very tiny one. There we go. That looks great. Grab the next one. A lot of little details, but that's what's going to make this piece exceptional. There we go. Perfect. Moving on here. And then we just got, well, there's quite a bit to do still, and that's okay. Now this is definitely this is going to be the most time-consuming project in this new bundle. Very careful. Okay, and that just leaves one more little, oh, actually there's two more. Nice and easy. And sometimes you don't even need to get glue all over this whole thing, because you can always just take it and spread it around with your finger as you're kind of dabbing it a little bit. Okay, but that actually is turning out really cool. And now this part, it's kind of angled, so just make sure that you're putting it down at the correct angle. And if you're not sure, don't put your glue on right away. Just kind of put it on there without glue, just to make sure that you have it in the correct orientation. And I do, and that looks great. Okay, so that turned out awesome. Okay, so here are all of the pumpkins. Okay, and what I would do, if I were you, is I would take all of the dark layers. So let me move this out of the way so you can see what I mean. So that's our darkest layer, okay? And then it goes lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter. Okay, so what I would do is I would just put these all out, all the pumpkin pieces, and just start with that layer. And then obviously you can tell, let me move these out of the way. You can tell that this is gonna go here, like so. It's the only one with 3 pumpkins joined, right? Okay, so then do the same thing here. Find this one has 2 pumpkins joined, right? This one here, you can see that this second layer, which is the same as this color, it's not going to fit on any of these other pumpkins, so it must fit here, okay? And then there are some, because the stems were so small, that we joined them to this pumpkin, okay? So in that case, like these here, okay? Those have separate little stems, and that one's a little bit different. I'll explain, but just go through and then find all of the second layers. Okay, you can see that this is the second layer for that, and then go through and find the third layers, which is this color. Okay, now obviously that's way too big for that. That one's going to go there. Okay, and then this guy here, obviously that's not going to work. It's too tall. It will fit within the confines of the previous layer. Too tall for that. So it obviously has to go here. And now obviously this is easier for me because I've already done it. And that one's going to go there. And then find the top layer. Okay, so for example here, you'll notice that, let me just do this one first. But again, do it layer by layer because it does make it easier to find which piece goes where next. So for the sake of these 2 sections here, obviously we need to put something here in the center, and these are the 2 biggest ones. Now this pumpkin here is wider, so this piece is wider. So this one's going to go here, and this one's going to go here, right? And then we have this piece, pretty big, way too big for that, way too big for that. It's going to go there. Okay, and then we have these 2. You can tell this one's a little bit taller, as is that pumpkin. So that's going to go there and there, okay? And just kind of use that system to build these. Now, the ones that have separate stems, you can put those on after you assemble the pumpkin, okay? So here you can, this stem here, you can do after it's assembled. But for the pumpkins that have the stem attached to the pumpkin, the green is going to go on top of the dark orange layer, okay? In all 3 cases, except for this one. The small one is actually going to go behind because we didn't want to make it too tiny. All right, so it's a little weird, but it's not too bad. All right, so let's start with this one here. Okay, I'm going to take this layer and glue it to what I'll call the shadow layer. And I did spend time inking every single one of these layers because I wanted to create nice separation between these layers to give these pumpkins beautiful dimension. And you can also flip this around just to make sure that everything's lined up nicely. Okay, we'll press that down. You can technically, if you want, can put the stems down now that we have that first layer in place, because this kind of goes down like a little puzzle. Okay, so you can see that's going to pop right in there like a little puzzle. It should cover the stem portion there. Okay, so it's not too bad. And it's going to go right there. Just make sure it covers the stem. There we go. And next, I'm going to take and apply this layer. Now you can see it's kind of dipped here and it kind of protrudes here. This is the top. The bottom has a little lump there. Okay. And you can actually use that little bump there at the bottom as your guide for placement. And then it should just meet perfectly right at the top. Okay, so here you can see the little bump there, and the little goes in up at the top. And let's create the illusion of the little ribs of our pumpkin. There we go. Okay, and then finally our last layer, and you can see that it's kind of a little bit more flat on one end and it's kind of skinnier at the top. The flat part's going to go on the bottom. And I think if you accidentally put this upside down, I don't think it's going to be that noticeable. But again, it's a little bit skinnier up at the top. There we go. Okay, so that set of pumpkins is good to go. We'll put that off to the side, and then we'll take and build this guy. Just move these out of the way, and we'll start with these 3 welded pumpkins. Nice and easy with the glue. Okay, and it's going to be flush on the bottom. Just a little bit of that darker color showing through at the top. Press that down. It's a great time again to put your stems in place. So I'm going to do that. Just pop that in there, just like a little puzzle. Make sure it covers the orange part of the stem there. Okay, we got this guy here. It's kind of curved over to the right. Nice and easy. Pop that in there. Line it up, and then one more. Let me clean off the nozzle on this thing. Okay, so making good progress here. It's going to be a very cool project once it's all done. Okay, so there's that. Next, we've got the lighter orange, and then I guess that's like a yellow. I inked it a little bit just to maintain some of that orange on the next layer. Again, the bump at the bottom, line that up, should be flush and match that little shadow area, and then make sure you might need to kind of rotate it a little bit. And I'm just going to put this piece on. Doesn't matter what order you do it in. They're all pretty much separated. There we go. Give that a little nudge. That's beautiful. I love these colors. Fall is definitely, I think, the best color palette of the year. They're all beautiful, but this is my favorite. I'm sure many of you will agree. Okay, there we go. And I'll say it again. There's the old saying, Rome wasn't built in a day. You want to do something beautiful with paper, it's going to take a little bit of time. If you're getting into paper crafts because you want things to be super quick, then we have some projects like that. But this is not going to be one of them. But anytime something takes a little extra time, it always ends up being one of my favorite pieces ever because of all those details. Okay, last little piece here. Pop that right in there. There we go. Okay, another little trio of pumpkins ready to go. Should move that purple ink out of the way. We don't want to blemish anything here. Okay, so now I'm going to move on over to this pumpkin. Okay, and I'll just lay these out so you can kind of see what's what. Okay, if that helps, hopefully. And let's get this piece onto that one. And it's just kind of a matter of building the rest of the scene once we have all of the individual pieces put together. That's going to be fun. Kind of start seeing it come to life. Okay, just like with those, I think right now would be a good time to get that stem in place. And just pop that right into there. Like a little puzzle. There we go. Okay, don't forget the little bumps at the bottom. Okay, there we go. And then we'll pop that right in there. And if you need to, just kind of lift it up and make any little adjustments that you need to. Okay. Here we go. Beautiful. It might be a little sideways, but that's okay. All right, so that one's done. Now let's take a look at this weird guy. Okay, this one has a flat bottom, and I'll explain why here in just a second. But again, same process, starting with the darker orange that has the stem on it. Okay, then we're going to take this layer and pop that right into place. Now with this one, we've got a little bottom to kind of guide us. There we go. Let's grab that stem. And that stem's going over to the right, so just make sure you're putting glue on the correct side. Pop that right in there like a little puzzle. Boy, this really helps with your hand-eye coordination and your dexterity. I'm very grateful to be able to do this. Okay, now again, the little bumps at the bottom here, it's going to be a little bit different because you don't see the bottom of the pumpkin. Okay, but you can see that it's not symmetrical right where the stem is. It's a little bit asymmetrical, and kind of guides you and helps you get it into the right spot. And then finally this little piece. You can still see that little guy at the bottom there. Let's give that a little nudge. There we go. Okay, and then for this piece, we have this little guy. Okay, and that's going to go right there. So he's kind of hidden behind a little bit of grass. And what I'm going to do is just take my dowel and pinch these little blades of grass between the dowel and my finger and just kind of curl them back towards you a little bit. And we're going to just apply glue to the very bottom of this. We want to create some separation and some dimension on this piece. And it's going to go like this, just like that. Make sure it's nice and flush at the bottom there. There we go. That looks really cool. Okay, so that one's ready to go. Now moving on here to this guy. Now for this little pumpkin, the green is going to go on first. Again, pretty small stem. Didn't want you to have to work with tiny little stems like that, so we just attached it to a longer green piece. Now you can see that little butt part at the bottom still matches up. There we go, just like that. Now this next piece is going to cover up that green, minus the stem. Okay, just line that up. There we go. Press that down, and then finally the top little section is going to go right on there. Just like that. There we go. That one's ready to go. There's just two more here. Okay, and you can see the layout here. Do the same thing with this one. We'll put the green section with the stem down first. So I would, again, just sort of focus on the stem, make sure that that's lined up, and then of course the bottom as well. Just like that. Grab the next one. You've got the little dip on top, the little nub at the bottom. Make sure you have the orientation correct. Just like that. Kind of experiencing some little brownouts here, or blackouts, I guess you call them. It's been hot. A lot of people have been using their ACs the last couple days. Today was way nicer than yesterday, but still. Okay, there we go. So that little guy's done. And that's just one more. Now, remember this one is a little bit different. This guy, this is actually going to go behind the dark orange layer. So the green goes in the back. The smallest pumpkin is just going to be a little bit different than the rest of them. Okay, so this layer is going to go on top of the green. Just make sure you have that little bit of stem showing through, like that. Okay, same thing with this pumpkin. You can see it kind of dips at the top, and there's that little nub at the bottom. And we just want to center that, match that up. There we go. And then finally, the last section. And our pumpkins are pretty much done. Here we go. All right. All right, pumpkins, looking good. Everything's looking really good. The ones that don't have the tails, we can actually glue those on. All right, and then before we do, you can take a little dowel and get the skinniest dowel you have. And what we're gonna do is just kind of take and curl these leaves up a little bit, up or down. You can curl them down. So I'm just taking and pinching the tips of the leaves against my dowel and then just curling them either way, down or up, doesn't matter. You can really make it super pronounced if you want. Just give it some nice dimension. These smaller ones, there's not really much you can do since they're so small, but give them a little curl here or there. Bring them to life, if you know what I mean. Okay. There we go. This little tiny guy, not much you can do with that. There we go. And then what I would do here, excuse me, for, let's see, this large one, they're both, this pair right here. One second, I need to fix this. This little pair right here uses just the ones with the little curlies on them, so you don't have to worry about that. On this one here, we're gonna need that. We're gonna need, actually we're not gonna need this one because that one also uses a curly, so you can put that off to the side. But the rest of them are going to feature, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so obviously at this point, you're just gonna find the, well actually this one here, this is gonna go here, okay? And then let's just start from smallest to largest. Find the smallest leaf for the smallest pumpkin. Okay, then we've got, let's see, these are, go put this one here. And we'll put this one here. Actually, 2 of these small ones are gonna go in the truck. Let's get the truck back out here for a second. These 2 need one, okay? And that just leaves these guys here. And we can give this one that one. And then this guy, this little guy here needs one too, okay? And all we're gonna do is just kind of glue those on right at the stem, okay? You can kind of decide which way you want it to angle. That's totally up to you. But we just need a little dot of glue right at right at this little dip there. And I would just kind of pop it up like that. And that's fine. Okay, that looks cute. That's all we need to do for this one. Okay, and then we'll get the rest of them in place here on our little pumpkins. Just angle it however you want. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Just a tiny little dot of glue. Now I would try to hide the oranges and the yellows there. Just get that right up to the stem as far as it'll go. Here we go. Got one more tiny little guy here. That's all we need. Pardon my head. That looks good. And then of course these 2 little guys here. And if you don't get the right size of the same one that I'm using, don't worry about it. No one's gonna notice. Sometimes you get some massive leaves on the smallest plants. And I would know because I actually have a lot of experience growing pumpkins. I think I may go back to doing that next year because I discovered that I really don't like canning tomatoes. And plus I have acid reflux. I shouldn't be eating so many tomatoes. Okay, excuse me, fly. All right, that is looking sharp. Okay, so our leaves are in place. And now, let's take a look at, what else can we do here? All right, let's build a little border that we have up at the top with our leaves. Okay, so let's get all those out. The sunflowers, we're going to save that for like the last step, actually. Okay, we're gonna do that later. All right, so first things first here, the top little border, you have two pieces that look like this. We're gonna glue these together. That's just to kind of stabilize and make this nice and thick. So let's flip this over. And I did ink one of them. You don't need to ink both, obviously, because you're just gonna hide all your work if you ink both of them. So just ink one of them. And I just inked the tips of the leaves here on the brown, because that top part you're not gonna see, it's gonna be hidden away anyway. Okay, might help to just put this down. And we can always go back in and add glue to any little spot where we might have missed applying glue. But do your best to get this lined up as accurately as possible, like so. There we go, press that down. Now we're gonna end up foam squaring this. This is looking great. I love how everything turned out, especially with all those beautiful colors. Okay, all right, so we've got a series of leaves here, and they're all gonna go, they all have a spot, okay? And what I would recommend doing here is taking, and I wanna curl these up. I wanna create some separation between this layer and that brown layer. So I'm literally just taking and placing the leaf, the tips of the leaves between my finger and the dowel, lifting it up about 90 degrees and then just running the dowel through. Okay, this is gonna be flush here at the top, and it's gonna look like that. Okay, so we don't need to put glue on this entire thing, just on the flat spots that we did not curl. Just like that. Okay, just match that up with where it belongs. Again, flush at the top. And there you have it. Okay. All right, moving on here. Let's get the largest ones out of the way first. Okay, so this little maple leaf is going to go right here, and actually it's going to go this way. You can see the stem's kind of cut at an angle. It needs to be flush with the top of this. All right, and I am going to take and curl these up. Again, it's going to create a nice separation, nice contrast between the leaf and that brown layer behind it. It's going to look great. Okay, and then just apply glue to the flat areas. You don't even need to put glue on this entire thing, just a few little spots will do. Okay, then just match that up and just make sure you get that nice and centered in its little spot. There we go. I think that's about right. Okay, let's go with this little guy here now. He's gonna go, where is he? Where are you gonna go? Oh, you know what? Yeah, he goes this way, that's why. And let me see, oh, okay. So you can see here, this little, where the two sections of the leaf meet, this little divot there, there's a little cut out there, and that's gonna go right there. Okay, so this is actually gonna overlap the previous leaf, which is fine. That's by design. I'm gonna curl these up, like so. I'll flip this over, and again, just apply glue to the flat parts. And look at that little divot area, just like that. Okay, so we can grab this piece now. This is another maple leaf that has, it's kind of flat on the top there, you can see. And just give that a little bit of train that out. And then this guy is gonna go right here. can see he has a little home made just for him or her. Okay, beautiful. And then you can take and, you know what, let's do these down here first. We've got this little maple leaf. Let's get that trained out. Flip it over. I'm going to put some glue on the stem. And then just a little bit along the inside here where the veins are cut out. Thin that out. Okay, and that's just going to go right there. You can see where that needs to go. Okay, and then we have a smaller little guy. Actually, I probably should have put him down first. Doesn't matter, it still works. Just slide him in there. Okay, I'm gonna pull these tips of these little leaves here up and throw a little bit of glue right at the base, a little bit on the stem, and then just on the little areas where the veins cut out. And we're gonna tuck that right in. You can actually see there's a little marker there to help you with the positioning of that one. There we go. Okay, and then we've got this guy, another little maple leaf. Let's take and flare these up like so. And you can see it's flat right at the top, so that's going to go flush up against this brown part, obviously. Let's not lose that guy. And nice and centered. There we go. Okay. Now we have this little guy. He's going to go right here. Let's take an, I'm going to leave that one up at the top alone. I'm not going to mess with it. A little bit of glue there, there, and there. There we go. And just match that up, flush at the top, nice and centered there on that little shadow layer. There we go. You can see what we're brewing here. Okay, and finally we have one more little leaf here, and that's going to go right here, like so. So let's take and, actually, looks like I inked the non-polka dot side. I kind of like that better, actually. All right, and apply the glue to the flat areas. Nice and easy. Don't overdo it. Only need a tiny bit. Pardon my head. There we go. Okay, so our little autumn leaf frame for the top of the shadow box is done. Okay, so we can put that off to the side. And I guess at this point, I can sort of start putting together the actual sculpture, because like I said, I'm going to put the sunflowers on after everything's together. One thing we can do right now is just put our little frame together. You should have two white pieces like this, and we're just gonna glue these together. Okay, and what I would do is I would just kind of do this, do half of it at a time. So I'm just gonna put glue on this about halfway down. Just bring it halfway down. Grab the top of it. It's just gonna make it 2 layers. Pop that right on there. I'm gonna grab this and do this in the air. Just match that up. Just kind of run your finger along the whole side there. Make sure it's all lined up nicely. And press down. Okay. And then what you can do is take this and just kind of lift it up and apply glue to the rest of it. Nice and easy. It's kind of flimsy, so it might take a little bit of patience. But this part now is going to be easy because you can just drop it and it will mostly fall into place. Okay, there we go. And just press that down. I'll flip it over. Okay, there we go. All right, that's a little wonky. That's okay, it'll be fine. All right, next, I'm gonna grab this gold layer, and then this is gonna go right on top. It's gonna be kind of like a double matte sort of look there. We're gonna have a little bit of that gold showing through. Okay, so we're gonna flip this over again, and we can do the same thing where we just kind of apply glue just to one half of it. I think it'll just be easier that way. Not only for gluing, but for alignment. Okay, now remember, since we're putting this on gold foil, we are gonna need to be careful here just to not get the glue all over the place. I'm gonna actually lift it up like this and just align it like so. There we go. Yeah, that worked. Pardon me, pumpkins. Okay. Just kind of make sure it's lined up nicely. Press that down. Now I'm going to give this a few seconds before I lift it up because, well, I'm gluing it to gold foil, okay? So we'll do the other half after this is mostly set. I'm going to put that off to the side for now. And now what we can do is start putting this together, almost. Not quite, but almost. We're going to take this little piece here, and we're going to put this is going to be my sky here. I'm going to put this in the bottom left-hand corner of your full 12 by 12 sheet of paper. And then we're going to take and just kind of draw in the inside part of it. And I wish I had something that would show up, but I'm going to use a thin marker that's kind of lighter colored, maybe. Like this yellow. Okay, all we're going to do here is take and just draw the little L on the inside of this little bracket. That's going to help us with the positioning of the next layer. So I literally just made a little L there, you can see. Okay, I'm going to go over to the other side as well and do the same thing. Okay, there we go. So that, okay, here's what we're going to do now. We're going to take this layer and we're going to glue it down. We're going to use those little L's to help us with the positioning of this layer. Okay, so that layer is going down first. So we can flip this over and begin applying our glue to this entire piece. Nice and easy. Try to go quick here because we've got a lot of real estate to cover. We want to make sure that, I'll go back up here a little bit. Okay, again, use those little L's to help you with the alignment. And of course, you still want to visually inspect it to make sure it looks right. Okay, give it a little nudge if necessary. That looks great. Okay, press that down. And the painting begins. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're going to take our barn and we're going to actually glue our barn flat right onto this green part here, like so. Okay, so let's flip that over. Get your glue on the back of your barn and pop that right into place. Pardon my head for 1 second. There we go. There we go. Okay. All right, next, we're going to take and we're going to glue these two layers together. Let me put my cap on my pen before it dries out. And actually, another thing we could do technically right now, oh, and you know what? I'm sorry, I forgot to do this. We do need to put our little L markers up at the top as well for our little leaves. Okay, so just get that right up there. And you know what, so that it blends better, even though it's gonna be hidden, but just in case it's not, maybe use some blue up at the top and just draw in It's kind of an upside down L at this point. Okay, there we go. You can do the same thing on the other side. Oh boy. I'm starting to realize that this table is crooked. There we go. Okay. And for this layer here, this layer of leaves, you can actually use some foam squares to foam square that out to give it some dimension. So that's what I'm going to do. And let's just do that real quick. And I'm going to be very generous with my foam squares on this project because in the past I've been a little sparse with it and I kind of regret it because I eventually see that there's some areas that start to dip a little bit. I don't like that. Okay, just be careful here. Not to, shouldn't rip at this point. It's 2 layers thick, but you never know. Just want to be careful. Okay, I'm just going to go through here and get this nice and sturdy. Okay. And these are relatively inexpensive, so I'm not overly concerned about using a ton of them. And I like these black ones because the little backings come off super easy, where there's some brands where you sit there and you're just fighting with the backs of these. There's a link to this in our go-to tools. You can download the official Dreaming Tree app. You'll find that in there. Okay, so let's get this in place. We're going to use those little markers that we just created to help us with the positioning of this, those little L's. Okay, so let's just pop that right in there. That looks great. And of course, I did not line that up properly. There we go. Okay. And this is starting to look great. Okay. All right, next, as I mentioned, we're going to take and we're going to glue these 2 layers together. Now you can see this layer's got a bunch of stuff cut out on it, and that's to help us with the positioning of all of the stuff. Okay, but we do need to get this glued down. So let's flip it over and begin applying our glue. Nice and easy. Don't need a lot. Just need to make sure you get it all over. And we do have a thin little fence here. Do your best to get some glue on that. I would run my finger on that too. Just kind of dab that glue so it doesn't go squirting all over the place. And let me move this out of the way. Let's get this lined up. I'm looking at the fence actually, the top there, pardon my head. And now I'll take and just give that a little nudge around, making sure it's flush with the bottom. There we go. Press that into place. Looks great. All right, so this now is going to get, we're going to actually foam square this onto this next layer. Okay, so I do not have any of the black ones, but I have some white ones, and I'm going to use these, and I'll show you here why. Again, these are kind of a pain. Start in the corners first, and then do some in the middle, and then just kind of fill it in. It's going to be important that we get enough support on this one to keep it nice and straight and sturdy. I like to flip it over and just kind of give it the old push test and see if it's kind of dipping too much in any one area. Maybe that's not too bad, but I'm going to go ahead and put one there too. That's fine. Okay, so here we go. This is what I was talking about. These are kind of a pain sometimes. I guess it helps if you have fingernails. You can really get them in there. Okay. And we're going to pop this right onto our canvas, so to speak. And then we just have a few little things to put in place to finish this up, but it's going to look fantastic, I think. I hope. we have a prototype, but this is my first time putting this together. And this is the first time we have a kind of an idea of what it's going to look like with all these colors because they were all superimposed digitally, but the inking was not present yet. And that always adds a really cool element to it. Okay, so this is just going to go flush with the bottom and the sides. So you just line that up as accurately as you can. There we go. Okay, so next what we can do is we can actually take this layer here. And what I did was I actually inked these individual little blades of whatever you want to call it. I guess it's probably just dead grass. Okay, and you can lift them up just to kind of create some separation. And we'll apply some glue here. Nice and easy. And you can see there's a series of little markers here. This is going to be flush up against the side, so just kind of bring it to this area here. And there's one there and one there. This little marker is going to line up with this little guy right there. And that's where that needs to go. Again, make sure it's flush on the right-hand side. Press that down into place. Okay. And then I'm going to take and apply some pumpkins here. Okay. So our smallest pumpkin, this little guy here, you can see there's a little what's it called? It's a little P with a little marker there, and that's where our little pumpkin's going to go, right there. So let's flip that over. We do have a little fence that we need to put down too. It's a really small little piece. It's going to test your patience and your skill. That's okay. Okay, so our first little pumpkin's going to go right here. Press that down. Okay, next, make sure that I give you the right sizes here. Okay. We've got these two. This one's going to go here, and then this one's going to go right here. And you can see it says P there, but don't do that. You don't want to P there. Just want to put a pumpkin there. Okay, and then this guy's going to go here. Again, use those little markers to help you with the positioning. There we go. Okay, next we can take our little farm stand, this guy here, and you can actually take and, well, you know what, we have to put the fence in first before we do that. And that's this little piece here. Again, this is going to test your patience. That needs to go right here, like so. Okay, and what I would do is start by just getting it glued down on one side, maybe just on one of the vertical parts, and then we'll paint glue on the rest of it. Okay, because this piece is very delicate, so just be very careful. There we go. Okay. Very delicate little piece. All right, grab yourself a scrap piece of paper. If I can find mine. Where did all my scrap go? There it is. Okay, got a scrap piece of paper here. Throw a nice thin amount of glue on there. And then what you can do is just take and just kind of dab it with this glue here. Just a little, hit it with a little bit. Okay, and then put the next vertical piece in place and press down. And then the next one. There we go. And then we'll just keep working our way up. Just press that down onto the glue until it's all in place, like so. There we go. And this last one needs a little more. There we go. Okay, so that turned out nice. All right, so now, as I mentioned, we can put our little cart in place, and it's going to go over all these elements here. Okay, now you'll see that there are some markers here. There's two markers here that's for this little area here, and then 2 markers here, that's for this little gap right between this wheel and this wheel. So you just want to make sure that you get it right there. And we're going to flip this over and put some foam squares on it. Okay, I'll put 2, maybe 3 at the top, and then we'll just throw a bunch here onto the rest of it. Okay. There we go. And flip her over. Again, use those little markers to help you with the positioning. And the edge of this should be flush with the right-hand side. Okay, so there you go. That looks fabulous. All right, cool. Okay, before we go any further here, it is time to put our little sunflowers together, and this is probably the last little tedious thing that we'll be doing. It's not that bad. Okay, what we're gonna do, what we need to do, is separate these out. There's 2 sizes of sunflower. There's a large and a small. So what you're gonna wanna do is take and just kind of match up the large ones and the small ones. Each sunflower is made up of 2 layers. Okay, so find 2 large, put them together, find 2 small, put them together until you have all of them separated. And then we're just going to glue them together, one on top of the other. Okay, and we're going to get those all in place. And we're going to try to stagger them so that they are, just so that we have a good variety of sizes. And I guess if you want, you can put the larger ones in front and the smaller ones in back, or just stagger them however. And these circles also, there's large and small ones, so we need to kind of just make sure that we get those in the right spots. Okay, so you get the idea here. And this is one of those things where, well, it's a very repetitive thing, so I'll probably just do a couple with you and then let you do the rest yourself. Okay, there we go, and something's off here. Okay, either way. All right, so for our sunflowers, what you're gonna wanna do is just take and you can kind of curl them up, just fold them up towards you, the petals. Okay, and then grab the next layer, do the same thing. Just kind of curl them up towards you. And you're gonna put a little dot of glue inside of one layer, like this. Let me move this out of the way so I don't get glue all over the place. And then just take the next layer and you want to offset it so that all the petals are visible. Okay, and press that down. I guess you can glue them down together flat and then just lift them all up. But even then, okay, so that's the large one. Then we're going to take and put a little dot of glue in the center and just glue down the little black part where the seeds would be to complete the look. There we go. And once that's dry, then we can take and kind of flare those petals out to give them dimension. Okay, so there's one large one, and that looks awesome. For a little tiny flower, that looks great for a sunflower. So again, I'll do a small one here, same thing. And again, let's not curl them until they're actually glued. I think it's just gonna be easier to do that. One little dot of glue in the center, take the next layer, and again, don't put it right on top of it because it'll just hide the petals behind it. Rotate it, offset it, so that you can see all those petals, and then press that down. Okay, and then another little dot of glue in the center, and throw that circle in there to complete the look. Okay, so I'm going to do this off camera because you don't need to see me do this 900 times. And then we'll start wrapping this up. Okay, so I've got my sunflowers done. Now after I've got everything layered here, what I did was I took the top layer of petals and I just pushed them forward. And I kind of left the back layer mostly flat, okay? So let's grab our sculpture here, and you can see where the sunflowers are, and there's little dots. Okay, and that's where we're gonna put the actual sunflowers. Now, what I would do here, so that we don't accidentally blemish the back layer, is take just a sheet of paper. It could be, actually it could just be like photo paper, or not photo paper, but copy paper, printer paper, whatever you want to call it. And let's just feed it back here behind this layer, so that as we push down, we don't accidentally get glue shooting all over the place. Okay, so we can go ahead and just begin putting little dots of glue. I'm gonna do like 3 at a time, maybe 4. And I'm gonna grab a big one here, get that nice and centered on there, and just press that into place. Lift it up so that it doesn't get stuck to that paper on accident. Get that nice and centered on that little glue spot. There we go. And this should go pretty quick. There we go. And just apply glue to like the next 3 or 4. And I'm gonna put the big ones up in front, so there's not as much weight on those skinny little guys up there. There we go. That looks great. Really digging this. You can see how quickly this will go together. They're all growing nicely in these beautiful little rows. And we'll just do the last 5 there. And let's throw that one there. These are going to be kind of on top of each other, which is okay. They don't all grow perfectly. There we go. Am I missing one? How am I missing one? That can't be. Oh, there you are. Tried to get away, didn't you? And there we go. Pop that right into place. Let me put that in the back. There we go. And there you have it. Okay. So that's that. And now, let's see, what are we going to do next? We can put the car in place. Now, I actually was almost put the car in place before, but realized I needed to put the sunflowers in place. Now, one other thing too is if you have any large sunflowers that maybe are not standing up very well, you can put a little foam square behind them and then just push them up against the back there. Okay, so the car, again, I've got all my foam squares on here already. There are 2 little markers here that coincide with the bumper here, and there's 1 little marker there that coincides right here where the fender meets the actual car itself. So get that bumper aligned, and then that 1 little guy there, and pop that into place. There we go. Now, another thing you can do too, you can leave the door as is, or if you want to put a little foam square right there so that it doesn't go moving on you. Okay, you can do that. And now it's time to kind of finish this off with the layers of pumpkins here. I want to make sure I have everything I need. Let me take a look here. Okay, so we have the 3, and then we have the 2, and then we have 1 that's like this, and that's actually going to go right here, and we're going to foam square that to give that some dimension. So I think 3 little foam squares is plenty for that guy. Okay, and you can see there's a little marker here and here for the 2 corners there of the little grassy thing that it's on. So that's going to go there. Okay, and we have this pumpkin, there's 1 pumpkin left here, and that's going to go right here. And we're going to need to put enough foam squares on this to get it to elevate above the car. Now the car is 1 layer thick, which means that we need to double up the foam squares on this pumpkin. I'm gonna do 3, and then I'll put 1 more on top of each of these to elevate it 1 level higher. Try to get them on top of each other as accurately as you can. It doesn't need to be perfect. Okay, and then just, you can see there's a little marker there for that pumpkin. And there you go. Okay, so that just leaves, well, what does that leave? That leaves this thing here. Okay, and then we also have this guy here. And now this one is 1 layer up, so we need to double this up. And you can see there's 2 little upside down V's here. Those correspond to these corners here. Okay, like that. And you obviously don't want to put any foam squares in this area where this pumpkin is, so keep them kind of away from that. Okay, and you can always just kind of superimpose it, kind of go back. And what I'm going to do here is, I'm just going to put one here and make sure that that works. Yeah, that works. Okay. And this is a pretty rigid piece, so we may not need as many. Okay, that's making good contact there, so we're not going to go above that, and then everything else can get a foam square. And again, don't forget, you got to go up 2 levels, since we need to raise that up above the previous layer. Okay, let's go here. And we'll go here. I think that's plenty. All right, so match that up with those little markers and press that into place. What is that? I got something funky over here. Okay, that's gone. All right, cool. So that looks great. Now we've got this little doodad. Okay, and let me see here. Yep. Okay, what we're going to do here is we're going to foam square this onto this layer. Okay, so you know what we can actually do here is, I'm going to use these big guys. You can mix and match the various depths. Doesn't really, not going to hurt anything. If anything, it'll actually make it look more interesting. Kind of change the depth between things. And I think I'm going to come out with some free captions for this so that you can put it on your glass of your frame. All right, so we just need to match this up. You can see where the stem goes. Right there. Just match that up nicely. Okay, and then this is also going to have to go, now this one's actually going to have to go 3 layers up. Okay, because this is going to go right in the corner here, but it needs to be 3 layers above, because this one's 2 layers. So we need to flip this over. Get out of here, fly. Okay, it's going to go 3 layers up like that. So let's flip this over, and we're going to keep the foam squares away from like this area here. Put them everywhere else though. Let me grab some more foam squares. And obviously we want to put them along the edge. Put some here. We'll do one there, and let me see here. I can go all the way up to about here. So we'll go here, here, and here. And then, as I mentioned, I'm going to stay away from this area here. So we'll do one here and here, okay? So again, we need 3 layers here. So this is our first layer. Okay, so here comes layer 2. I have to peel those off and do one more layer. And then pretty much it. We just have to put that little frame around, which there's still half of it that we need to glue down. And while that's setting, I'm going to grab my shadow box. I think this would look good in a white one. If I had something a little more rustic, I would probably go with that, but I think white will complement this nicely, make it bright and cheery, which is what we want. It's always a happy time on the pumpkin patch, at least for me. I love going there. I know the pumpkins are probably a little, I'm used to growing my own, so the cost is not really that much. And we're on well, so I don't really pay for, I mean, I do pay for water one way or another. No such thing as a free lunch, but yeah, it's relatively inexpensive to grow them. I actually had a buddy, still have a buddy, who used to grow huge pumpkins, Atlantic varieties. I think he topped out, before he moved to Minnesota, I think he topped out at just shy of, actually just over 1,000 pounds. All right, so this guy's gonna go right here, flush with the corner. Okay, we got, it's 3 layers thick now. There we go. Okay, so there is our beautiful sculpture. And now let's not forget, we have these guys. Okay, and I'm just gonna wrap this up here. This little guy here is gonna go right here. Okay, then this, there's a smaller one. That's going to go off to the side like that. And we're going to take and kind of curl these a little bit. Okay, this one is going to go right here. Hold on a second here. Oh, this one goes here. Okay, so you can kind of see how they go. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take and I'm going to begin by just training this to kind of get it moving a little bit. And then what you can do is just take it and wrap it around your dowel to create the little tendrils that you would see on a pumpkin. Okay, and then you can just let it go. And this one's going to go, you can bring that in a little bit more, and that's going to go right there. Okay, and don't forget, you can take and bring these up a little bit, like so. Just throw a little bit of glue right there. Okay, and we'll just angle him a little bit. You know, I left my door open for 2 minutes and I got flies coming in here already. Okay. All right, so we'll do the same thing here. First, just kind of run the dowel through to give it a little bit of a curve, and then you can take and pinch it and wrap it around your dowel. Okay, and you can actually, the more distance you create while you wrap it, the less pronounced the little swirl will be. Okay, I'm just gonna do it like that. And this is however you want to do this. There's no right or wrong way to do it here. But get it right up to the what's it called? The stem, sorry. I'm like thinking about 3 other things right now. Okay, just take that down, let this ride a little bit, and take that, pinch it around the dowel. Give that a little bit of a curve. Maybe this one is just, it's just kind of curved a little bit right at the tip. You can always go in and kind of mess with it a little bit more later on, whatever. Just trying to give this thing as much dimension as possible. And be careful when you do this so that you don't rip this off, because it is a pretty delicate little piece. And we don't want to do that. Okay. Pop that one right there. There we go. I can actually, oops. Get back in place, mister. You can tuck that one behind this pumpkin even if you want. Whatever. Okay, we got one more here. I somehow ended up with an extra leaf. I feel like I'm missing something here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah, I've got 8. Okay, well, I don't know. If you also ended up with an extra one, just, you know, add it to another pumpkin. It's okay. Pumpkin can have 2 leaves. They have a ton of them, actually. Be kind of boring if they were all the same. Okay, pop this one right here. You're just going to go at an angle like that. Press that into place. We got these little tendrils kind of hanging out together. Maybe I'll curl this one up a little bit more. That's fine. Okay, and I've got one more here. We're just going to put them on top or right next to. You can kind of overlay it on the other one. I'm not sure how that happened, but it's okay. Let's throw a little dot of glue on there. You know what, let's just put them right there. There we go. Okay, so that's that. That's pretty much complete. All right, so let's grab this thing now. And what I should have done was taken this and actually put it under my mat to let it dry, but it'll be fine once we put some foam squares on this. It'll sit nice and straight for us. So go ahead and apply glue to the rest of this, and then just go ahead and drop it down. It should basically end up where it needs to, since we already lined up the other section. Okay, just press that down. Give that a few moments to set. You can see it's kind of, there's a little warp, but you can push that back into place. It's not a big deal. There we go. Okay, so now let me see here. How many layers do we got to go? You got to go pretty deep here in some spots. Okay, but this is going to be a natural frame for this entire thing. So we're almost there. We just need to just go around and add foam squares for this little border until we get it at the right height, depending on where it is. So on this side here, what you can probably do is, you don't need to put foam squares on every single inch of this. This one here, okay, this one needs to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need to add 4 more layers on this corner here. So I'm just going to do that. And it'll be the same thing on the other corner at the top. You need 4 more layers there just to get it elevated correctly. I need to kind of pull this a little bit. Whoops. But you get the idea here. This is not the most friendly part of this, but it will work ultimately. Okay, that looks good. And then you can see here that we will need to pull that back. So here on this section here, we're going to need 6 layers, okay? So the reason I'm doing this is because the thickness of your foam squares may be different. I can't tell you exactly how many you're going to need. That's all going to depend on the thickness of your foam squares. So mine right there is good. And this one here, I can probably just do one right here above the sign, because that's going to sit on the little truck. So that's good there, that's good there, that's good there. And then again, on this side, we're going to need to do 6. Okay, so you get the idea here. You're just going to go around and figure out how many layers you need to get this to be level. Okay, and then once you've got that, your process is pretty much complete and it's ready to go into a shadow box. Now that last layer, you don't need to pull the sticky off of it. Just to test it, you can just put it down and see if it looks right. Okay, and that looks pretty level there. Okay, so we'll leave that. Just don't put the sticky on the last one. Okay, now of course I'm going to need to put some here and here just to kind of keep it from sagging. Okay, so we've got quite a few that we need to add here, and that's okay. It's all part of the process. If the machines were able to cut more than 12 by 12. We could technically, our machines are limited to, what is it, 11.4 by 11.4. If there was a way for it to recognize, let's see how that looks. Oops. And you can kind of look at it from an angle just to make sure that it looks nice and level. Okay, so now this side here, there's one area where there's nothing at all. So obviously we're going to need to really thicken that up. That's going to need to be probably about 6 layers thick. Okay, we can put that right about here. I'm just going to find my spot. But you get the idea here. Just keep layering this until it's all level and figure out exactly where to put your little foam squares, just to make sure that they're not. I'm going to do one more here. I'll leave the sticky on it just to test it out. Just give it that little push test. And just take a look at it from various angles. And I think that's pretty good. Okay, it seems to be pretty sturdy, so it can peel off that bottom layer on all these little areas. If you want, you can obviously add, you know, kind of add more in between the areas that I've suggested, and that's fine. You can definitely do that, just so that it doesn't end up bending and bowing all over the place. I've got a few on the back of this. It's making it kind of wonky. Okay, there we go. We'll peel these off. Peel that one off. Peel that one off. We can pull that back a little bit. Press down right there, right there. There we go. Okay. And I think it's okay if the little tendril here actually just sticks out. I'm not opposed to that at all. I don't have the glass in there because I'm going to actually photograph it without the glass, because it photographs better. The glass is very reflective, as you can imagine. And there it is. Beautiful. So there is our beautiful paper sculpture. Our pumpkin patch paper sculpture, all done. It did take a while, but hey, totally worth it. Where else are you going to find something like this? And you can say, hey, look what I made out of paper. Anyway, very happy with the end result. Hope you love it too. If you did, or if you enjoyed the video, please take a moment, visit us on our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. While you're there, hit the little bell so you get notifications anytime we release a new project, whether it be paid or free. And if you make this or anything from our new fall bundle, I'd love to see it, and so would the rest of our community. So head over to your Facebook and do a search for Dreaming Tree Official. That's where you'll find myself and over 40,000 other dreamers that inspire us daily. So thanks again, and as always, I look forward to crafting with you again. Hey, thanks for crafting along with me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, check out some of our other videos, and please consider hitting that subscribe button. Also, don't forget to visit our site and check out our free SVG section, where you'll find over 140 free SVG files complete with assembly tutorials. I'll see you in the craft room.